Right, folks, this is a narration of my match at the weekend at the AJP Grand Slam down in London. I was competing in the Masters 2 division, black belt, obviously, and it was at the under 69 kilo division. I'm going to go over what was happening in the match, as well as some of my thought processes, how I responded to certain things, and also some things that I'll be doing differently in the future in terms of tactics. One of the things to note is that the AJP rule set is a little bit different to the IBJJF rule set in that you don't get advantages per se, but only points. However, you do get points for submissions which are locked in and have real threat behind them. So with all that being said, let's begin. So this was my semi-final match. The AJP set was actually quite nice in that it was actually pretty professionally run. And it's always amusing to see the likes of Joao Meow stomping around backstage. My weight cut for this one was actually not too bad. And here we begin. So I've been working on my judo a lot recently. However, given how competition went last month, I decided that sometimes a bit of guard pulling wouldn't go amiss. My opponent immediately pulls guard, and this first 90 seconds of the match was pretty frantic. I knew straight from the off that I was at risk of an elevation here. You could probably see my opponent's butterfly hook just sort of come into place there. And I knew that if I let my hips come forward over this line, that I'd be well and truly screwed. This is why I was looking for a body lock, or at least attached to the legs. So you see here, I've got my arms underneath, and I'm looking to stay close. I'm also trying to keep his heels in close and put some weight on his butterfly hooks. Generally speaking, whenever I compete, I still have thoughts going through my head of what a million miles a minute, but I'm usually pretty focused. From here, I was trying to put pressure on. I have used high tripod passing and sort of inside passing a lot recently, but with this guy, I knew in the first minute in the match, he was going to have a lot of vim and vigour, and I knew it was a really good risk of me getting swept. From here, he managed to undo the leg, but I was still attached to his shoulder, so I was attempting to fight it off. I managed to get my leg out of a bad spot there. Now, he's wrapped it here and he's looking for a straight foot lock, but as you can see, there's quite a gap in between his two knees. At no point during this foot lock attempt did I feel in any danger whatsoever. There was a little bit of pressure, but no discomfort. He's got his foot in the hip here, but as you can see, I'm already fighting that and combating that. And I'm hip high. My hips are higher than his. So as a result, I'm going to be able to run away and make good my escape. So again, the grip was loosening this. I was already out thanks to the turn, and I'm grabbing a hold of his foot here. I'm just getting ready to disengage and try and come up on top. From here, I knew that if I stood up, there was a real risk of me getting my back taken and or further exposing my leg. So he managed to end up on top. It was a good little move from him, but I knew if I wasn't careful, I would be getting swept and get my back taken. And so I had to make a split-second call there. So he got the 1 point for the footlock attempt, and he's got 2 points for coming up on top here. Now from here, you see I'm using basically a sort of deep De La Riva here. Basically a sort of screwed up De La Riva, and I've got my arm fed in as well. I'm basically trying to fend him off and keep him from being able to stand up properly. I'm not in any fear of my foot and getting touched, simply because he won't be able to get the extension on it. He won't be able to get his knees together. All I'm trying to do at this point is I'm trying to get some extension in his leg or get some sort of threat going on that leg of his so I can make it light. I need to elevate his base or otherwise get his base moving from side to side. So from here, I'm willing to be quite patient. And you see how I've got my butterfly hook here. I was attempting to use that to move his ankle, but it was a bit solid at the time. I knew I had to be patient and get a little bit of momentum going before I was able to use that hook to sweep. So my sweep has popped off here, so I've had to pummel the foot on the other side instead to keep him at bay. I've got my hips off the mats, which means I'll be able to invert and pummel a foot inside if worst comes to worst. I do have to be careful with knee bars here because, frankly, if someone jams the high leg through in between the legs, that's probably what I would go for anyway. And you see I'm just monitoring his ankle as well. I should note I've got a bit of mobility in my hips, so this game is available to me. And you see here, I'm using my foot here to stop him from just freely remove my foot. I was jamming on his bicep pretty tight. I've still got the lapel fed around his leg. I'm focusing a lot of my effort on trapping this lower leg here. I want to get some sort of reaction out of him that will force him to step or back step. And in that moment, I've got my sweep, I've got my wrestle ups here. So I'm just trying to be patient here and find my opportunities. From here, I've managed to underhook the leg. This is important. I've got this underhook. And as he tries to backstep, I use the leg to come up on top. This is actually one of my favorite sweeps, or a variation thereof. So just watch that again. This is the moment where I've set it up. So because I've got that leg hooked, his base is pretty screwed now. And I'm going to stay glued to this. Now, obviously, I've got to be really careful. The arm alone isn't going to do it. I need to force him to extend. So from here, as I swing the leg round, he obviously reacts, he lets go. However, this opening up or extension is all I need. Because now I've got his ankle or heel grabbed still, and up I come. I'm into a little De La Riva scenario, but I'm not entirely fussed here. Not my first rodeo. Now, I've got the 2 points for that, but I'm still a point down. And I am aware of this, and obviously I'll be looking to pass. Guard passing is something I've been working on recently, although I've got more things that I've been working on to try and deal with particularly difficult lasso guards. From here, you might not be able to see this, but I'm actually using a belt grip to negate his lasso. You can just about see it here. So he's got my left arm lassoed. I fed my lassoed hand in deep, and I've got a grip of his belt. This allows me to start shutting down the lasso hook, start flattening his foot against my chest, and basically kill it. And then he decides, fuck this, and pulls me into close guard. My apologies, it gets a bit dull here. That not a lot happens, and my jokes are terrible. But as you can see here, he's going for a cross collar choke. So I'm just slowly moving my face out of the way into a position where I know he's not going to be able to get it. And he knows that I know that he knows. Is that right? He knows that I know that he knows that he's not going to get choke unless I really leave my neck exposed. So I'm turning my head in particular ways and just resting my tempo against his forearm because he knows that if he puts it up my face, it's not going to work. And I'm slowly just trying to bait my arm at the same time. So from here, I'm standing, I'm doing ye olde judo choke. I know it's not going to work, but I'm also mindful of my elbow in the scenario. I know that arm bars and omoplatas are coming, and I have actually baited this before in competition when someone's been particularly keen to go for cross-collar chokes. It is a risk, but it's a calculated risk. We're coming up to about halfway in the match. You see also I've got my other hand on his other collar. There's me checking the time. And also the referee has told us to move back to centre of the mats. And now I'm just being patient. Some people might be tempted to start doing crazy stuff or bucking and all the rest of it. I'm trying to be a bit more patient because I know at some point he will look to open his legs and re-guard, or go for open guard, I should say. So I'm just willing to bide my time, and I'm awaiting that reaction because he knows he's not going to be able to choke me. It's either that or he goes for an armbar. You see from here, I'm doing a kind of cantilever. The problem here is that his ankles stay pretty tight to my lower back. Ideally, I'd like his ankles to be somewhere closer to my upper back, which means I could put in my my knee wedge. I'm pretty bendy, but that simply wasn't feasible at this point. You'll see, however, I've got double lapel controls. This is something I've been using in competition since the the start of this year, because it stops people from being able to easily get arm bars if you do it right. Also, the kind of the tripod sweep or sweeps for over, the double ankle sweep isn't available as long as I've got a good tight grip of the collar on both sides, close to the neck. And from here, I'm just trying to get a little bit of motion going. I decide to threaten again. I decide to try and encourage him, air quotes, to do something. He seems quite content to go for a choke. I am aware that if it looks like he's about to strangle shit out of me and I go purple, he's going to get another point for a potentially locked-in submission. So I'm just making sure he doesn't even get a chance to set up, using my tempo, using my head to basically say, no, fuck that. From there, again, I'm threatening that choke. I'm bullying him a little bit because I want to bait him into either going for the arm or opening up. Instead, I just open up. And the risk with this is that they come to their feet, and that's fine by me. So I've got just over a minute, but I'm still down a point. He's looking for the oldie guard pull, he's looking for takedowns, and he pulls guard again. From here, I'm looking for a little over-under, and I'm pretty tight here. I almost get his knees bundled together, but he manages to kind of worm his way out. From here, however, I'm hooked round an ankle, and that is, this is kind of my jam. So as he's kind of moving around and trying to find ways of putting a guard in the way, I'm just slowly looking to crawl up. I'm trying to get my knee past his hip line. I'm trying to get, or rather get it glued to his hips, I should say. But I'm aware of that leg the whole time. And I know there's a chance he'll extend or start to set up. At this point, I am, in the last sort of minute or so of this match, I was thinking I am probably going to have to just submit him. I'm also looking for my little sort of shin pry. That is where I use my foot on this side to try and unlock the half guard, but it's getting difficult. Obviously, he's getting wise to it, and I'm just fighting that grip there. From here, I was looking for a little over-under pass. Using that belt there. He anticipates it, and then as he rolls, I've, again, because I already had that leg trapped, I've managed to stick my cross guard hook in. That is, I've got my right shin wedged underneath his hamstring, and my foot is on the inside of his thigh here. From here, AJP allows you to turn both ways to get straight foot locks at black belt. And then this is pretty much it. I don't know if you can tell, but I've actually got one of my shins already in the inside blocking. And this is going to stop him from getting any closer. And from here, I knew I didn't have long left, so I thought, right, fuck it, I'll send it. My opponent's ankle made a couple of cracking noises and a few popping noises. And given at black belt, a lot of people don't tend to tap in the first few pops, I thought he'd be fine, and I kept on going. And then as time goes on, I thought to myself, this guy's just really, really tough. They obviously build him pretty strong where he's from. So again, I managed to get belly down in this, and my opponent doesn't tap. Kudos to him for being tough as nails. And you see at the end, I get the point awarded, much my opponent did initially, for the straight footlock attempt. Because of just how tight it was and how long he was in the submission, I ended up winning the match. After this, my opponent ended up having to pull out the competition because he couldn't walk, which is obviously not great, and this is why you should always tap. I myself have been in situations before where a few of my joints have made funny clicking and popping noises before I thought to myself, you know what, I would like to be able to walk. So it's one of those things. Unless you're fighting for a whole bucket load of money, you should probably tap if you think something's about to go snap. So ultimately, I think the main things I would work on is, number one, more rolling. The month running up to this, I didn't really roll much because of various circumstances. I was ill as well. But I was able to weather the initial sort of storm. However, I think working on more intense roles with people who are, willing to fight rough is what I need. Especially considering that I got headbutted by both my opponents in this tournament. Not through any malice, simply because they were going hell for leather. I think one of the other things I'd work on is immediate counter sweeps. So one of the other things I would work on is my immediate sort of counter sweeps and also wrestling up. Here at this, one of the things I should have done differently would have been to maintain this ankle and wrap it right here. So I'll work on that a little bit more as time goes on. And I should have also counter sweeped instead of letting him settle his position. I think I'll be working on John Wayne sweeps and my butterfly sweeps as well. That's one of the things I'm going to put more effort into before my next tournament in June. From here, obviously, my sort of open guard has come into clutch, as well as my sort of entanglements. But I think I'm going to work a little bit more on my sort of collar and sleeve and worm and squid guard. I think that's the other thing I want to work on next. These are sort of guards that I think will come in useful for me, and especially in my gi matches. Obviously, you can't really do worm and squid guard no gi, but I do gi and no gi competitions. In terms of closed guard breaks, I think next time what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the honey badger, where I essentially just shell it really tight and I put my elbows in the inside of the thighs and I start working my way out the back door, so to speak. So I've got a few different solutions I'll be working on to make sure I have a little less of a stressful time when I'm competing. And from here, I think next time I'll want to posture upright and lack on Giles style, posture up and break open the crossed ankles at this point, because they weren't as strongly bound as they could have been. So that's something I can do next time. And then I think I'll also want to work on my judo a little bit more. I have a few different throws I could have gotten to a bit sooner, but I was tentative. As I say, I'd not had much chance to work them. But I think with further mat time and more consistent training, I'll have better results next time. And lastly, I think I'll want to train more with a few of the senior belts at my gym who are really good at lasso guards, lasso and half guard. There's one of the black belts who's fantastic at butterfly half, so I'll be rolling with him more in an attempt to further work on my solutions against these kind of guards. So yeah, overall, all things considered, this is actually a pretty good performance from me. Both my matches were good performances, but again, you can see the straight foot lock has done me an absolute solid here. I hope you found this useful and not too boring. If there's any point of this you've got more questions about, feel free to ask me.